Welcome back. We just heard from Henry Rayhans, the 78-year-old man acquitted of sexually abusing his wife who was suffering from dementia. She was in a nursing home. Let's discuss the precedent this trial has set with our legal experts, HLN legal analyst Joey Jackson and prosecutor and former defense attorney Wendy Patrick. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
All right, so Joey, to you first on this one. So what do you think? I mean, it's such a strange case. Should it ever have gone to trial?
No way. It was amazing. And I don't know whether the esteemed Wendy Patrick agrees with me, the prosecutor she is, but you know, it's a very sympathetic case. It really is. And look, just to get this out the way, no means no. Doesn't matter whether it's your wife, not your wife, what have you. But when you have two people like this, they found love again together in 2007. They became married. By all accounts, they were smitten with each other. You know, the testimony also established when he went there.
No doubt, he loved this woman.
Exactly, and she loved him. Right. And they were all nursing staff that they were just bonded together. They were beautiful together. And so to have the adult children step in, of course, they want to protect the mom, but to have the insinuation that there was sex that was not consented to, and otherwise he abused someone he loved, it was very troubling. And the jury agrees. He gets acquitted. It's a good day in America, a better day in Iowa.
So do you think it should have gone to trial?
Well, this was a case not about forced sex and not even about consent, but about the capacity to consent. And so that was the legal issue at trial. And the prosecutors did all they could to really make that clear to the jury. The other thing I think that was a challenge for them is what happened behind that curtain. Remember, they have to prove the sex act in order for it to be sexual abuse. The wife's roommate says she hears something that made her uncomfortable, but she doesn't peek.
Right.
So we don't
actually know that they had
She doesn't say it's sex. She said she heard something, not necessarily something
that made her uncomfortable. And, you know, so who knows what she heard. So there was sort of a double whammy of challenges facing this prosecution. Sure, it's the most sympathetic defendant you can imagine. And we've got the issue of what really happened between man and wife behind that curtain.
So, Joey, I mean, what kind of standard, though, do you think there should be in terms of consent, you know, in cases like these?
I certainly think you want to protect people who have dementia, but the science apparently, Randy, is inconclusive as to whether or not they have the capacity or don't have the capacity to consent, and that's a problem. And then also, of course, the defense expert testified that they still want and have the desire to be sexually intimate and are able to express that. And so, on the one hand, while you certainly want to protect people who can't consent, on the other hand, you don't want to hold people accountable who love, care, respect, and cherish each other and shouldn't go to jail over that. Well, Madam Prosecutor.
But then we've got the additional issue of who monitors this type of activity? The practical reality of, sure, we've got this issue of consent. Who decides when you're no longer able to give consent? Is it a doctor? Is it law enforcement? Is it a judge? And then for nursing homes, I mean, the poor nursing homes, how are they supposed to monitor what's going on with the patients and their loved ones? I mean, there's a privacy aspect to all this as well.
Well, what kind of doctors are actually qualified to determine that someone can't consent?
That's right, and that's why what you pointed out earlier is so important. It's precedent setting. This is a case of what we call first impression. We're usually talking about sexual consent on a college campus or a date rape situation, not in a nursing home where it's a loving relationship. I mean, they were newlyweds. They were married less than 7 years.
Right, he's going to see her. I mean, he's going to visit her because he loves her, right?
Right, so at what point did she lose the capacity to consent? That was the prosecutor's argument.
And the critical issue, of course, there was some document that brought him on notice and gave him notice that apparently she lost the ability to consent because a doctor had deemed her unable to consent.
Right, but now he says he didn't think that was an order, that you can't do it. He said it was just a recommendation that you shouldn't be doing it.
He said a lot of things.
Right, and some of it was conflicting.
For 3.5 hours, and I think he was very emotional in his testimony, and I think the jury got
very sympathetic. I mean, he was an
You think that helped? Do you think that helped him quite a bit?
Absolutely. I mean, jurors are human beings, so it's kind of the issue where even if they may have believed something happened, they couldn't agree on what happened, and even if they did believe there was some kind of sexual activity, the issue of consent is so difficult. It's hard enough when you've got two people of sound mind. It's even tougher when you're not exactly sure what happened, much less what did she consent to.
So you think we're going to see more cases like this?
What I think we'll see, back to Wendy Patrick's point, is monitoring from a nursing home perspective. And now it's sort of, there's not really those standards that are in place to deal with this. They sort of, look the other way. I think what you'll see is perhaps perhaps nursing homes have better rules, better regulations, people on
But
notice
how do you
of this.
monitor? You can't have
That's
any
the
alone
other
time.
issue.
I mean,
Exactly.
you have somebody
cameras.
in the. You can't have a camera.
Exactly.
And so you have
it's
somebody who, visits. Their visits are accompanied by somebody from the nursing home.
I think there'll just be, rules that are made clear to all parties that are concerned. But your husband and wives, and in your later years, you know what? Nursing homes are reality, and I think that people should be able, who love each other, enjoy each other, no matter the setting, as long as it's consensual. And
That's why
private
this case is going to be followed so closely, and that's why we're giving it as much play as we are. Is that with an aging population, we're going to see another one of these before too long.
Would you prosecute it, Ms. Patrick?
It would depend on the facts, right? You're never going to get a straight answer out of me. I'll tell you what, though, I would want, and this is also said, she passed away, a month before he was charged, so we don't even have the benefit of knowing, what she would say.
Bad all around, but
Notice how I didn't answer.
very interesting case, though. Of course, there she goes. All right, Wendy, Joey, good to see you guys. Thank you both very much.